Scotland squad has been named for the November internationals, folks. It is a large and I think pretty attacking-minded looking squad from Gregor Townsend. We'll go through who's in and who's out. The injury list is extensive and you have a new captain for the Scotland squad. So it is interesting times. There's certainly a few big omissions. But yeah, 4 test match fixtures on the cards. You guys can let us know your thoughts on the squad. But as I mentioned, attacking minded. I'm pretty excited to see how the Scottish squad goes. I feel like I'm a little bit disconnected from the squad because they didn't really show the mid-year matches here in New Zealand. When the Scottish boys introduced a lot of the kind of youngsters with their tour to the Americas. But I'm pleased to see these guys back in action. 5 uncapped players in Alex Samuel, Ben Muncaster, Freddie Douglas, Tom Jordan, and Mosese Tupulotu. So bringing in some of the youth and a bunch of kind of single cap guys back into the squad as well, which is pretty pleasing. Gregor does seem to be shifting some of the veterans along, but it is a kind of a mix of youth and experience. I didn't have a very good sleep last night, and I feel like one of the reasons was bloody Johnny Matthews. Where's Johnny Matthews? I still don't really get how he doesn't get in the squad. What's he done to Gregor? Isn't he a good player? I watch him and think he's a good player. Johnny Matthews can't make the Scotland squad when there's 45 guys in the squad. Is bizarre. They have gone with Ashman, Harrison and Richardson as the 3 hookers. It is pretty young. None of those guys are over kind of 25. So yeah, there's been, I guess, with like Fraser Brown and co retiring in the kind of last few years, it's been a bit of a turnover in that area of the squad. And for the props, you got a few guys injured. I mean, the injury list itself, it's lengthy. It includes Javan Sebastian, Murphy Walker, Robbie Smith, Cam Henderson, Sam Skinner, Andy Christie, Ewan Ferry, Cameron Redpath, Kyle Stain, and Ollie Smith. It's a real shame about Kyle Stain because he is a cracking player. But yeah, a couple of props of Murphy Walker and Javan Sebastian out as well. But they have picked the likes of Schoolman, Macbeth, Batty, Sutherland, Fagerson, Hurd. It's a return for Darcy Ray and Elliot Miller-Mills there as well. Darcy Ray hasn't played for Scotland since like 2019, where he got, I think, 12 minutes. So I guess a welcome return for him. Will Hurd, I don't think, has had a lot of game time in the Premiership this season, but he is also included in the squad. And then the veteran guys, Sutherland and Fagerson and whatnot, is kind of pretty steady as she goes. Schoolman's been busy for Edinburgh this season as well. Locks, Johnson, Craig, Cummings, Williamson, Gilchrist, Samuel. Alex Samuel, as I mentioned, one of the uncapped guys. Bit of tall timber, which is always pleasing to see. Love a lock, which well tops over 2 meters, and he is certainly one of those guys. Grant Gilchrist is the most capped forward in the pack with 72 caps. He's also a kind of key line-out man, and at 34 years old, his experience will be certainly leaned on by some of the other guys around the squad. Johnny Gray decided to basically stay with his club over the November period. I don't think Gregor Townsend was particularly happy about that. And then back rowers, geez, you guys have got a lot of them, like many of the other squads, but Scotland is no exception. Bayliss, Brown, Crosby, Darge, Fagerson, Ritchie, Dempsey, Muncaster and Douglas. Freddie Douglas is a bit of a bolter, only kind of having played under 20s rugby. Don't know how much of a look in he gets for the squad when you have so many other kind of classy players in the mix, but he'll certainly benefit from the experience at only 19 years old. And then Muncaster, based on his form for Edinburgh, I think is a pretty good call-up. But where do you fit him in? That remains a question. There's no spot for the Mish, Hamish Watson. That's not really earth-shatteringly surprising for me because he's kind of been in and out of Scotland squad in recent times and has certainly fallen below Rory Darge in the pecking order. I think in play as well, stats always indicate that Darge in recent times has been the kind of dominant of the two players. He's certainly been a tackling machine in the URC thus far this season. So if you've got him in the squad, you've got Jamie Ritchie there, you've got Muncaster as well. Yeah, the pecking order, the Mish just not quite high enough in it at the moment. Pretty pleasing in terms of that back row depth, I think you'd have to say. The backs is interesting because there's no Ben Vallicott. He's another guy that I rate alongside Johnny Matthews, but he is 29 years old, so potentially I understand why Gregor doesn't want to see him. I mean, he's largely playing off the bench as well in the URC. Doesn't see him as a guy for the future when you got like, younger guys like Ben White and Jamie Dobby and whatnot in the mix too. George Horn's playing some phenomenal attacking rugby, which is always pleasing to see. And then Ali Price actually seem to find a little bit of form in recent times. So the 4 guys who play 9, Dobby obviously got that ability to shift out to the wing as well, which is not that common in recent times. Like Francois Houcart used to do it for the box, but we haven't seen an international 9 doing that with any regularity in recent times, not that I can think of. And then 10s is an interesting shift because you got the 2 Glasgow boys, and Adam Hastings and Tom Jordan. Tom Jordan's another one of the uncapped guys to be called in. Another one of these kind of wonderful attack-minded players, which is great to see. But the Edinburgh boys miss out. Ben Healy, his stocks have really fallen. I mean, he essentially got dropped to the Edinburgh A team after that Lions game, where it was a big recent loss. And then Ross Thompson also misses out. So, yeah, Russell and Hastings, the 2 veterans, and then Tom Jordan, a little bit of a bolter, but man, pretty well deserved, I think, based on form, so pleased for him. Midfield, you guys have got stacks of depth. Hutchison, Curry, Jones, McDowell, Tuipulotu times 2, with Mosese essentially getting fast-tracked into the Scotland squad, having not played a heck of a lot of games for Edinburgh, so we'll see where he is in the pecking order. As I mentioned, it is competitive, because McDowell's been playing really well, and Hugh Jones, we know his combination with Sione Tuipulotu as well, and with Sione being captain, he's pretty much locked on to start the big games, isn't he? So, yeah, there's only really one other spot up for grabs amongst the other guys. So it is a tough one, but it's pleasing. Good problem for Gregor Townsend to have with that amount of depth. And then some attacking-minded outside backs as well. Aaron Reid, Kyle Rowe, Darcy Graham, Duan van der Merwe, Harry Patterson, Blair Kinghorn. As I mentioned, pretty gutted for Kyle Steyn because he is Mr. Consistent. Really reliable player, but I mean, having Darcy Graham back is fantastic. He's right up there with the defenders beaten this season. Duan van der Merwe, we all know what he can do. Big unit, quicker than he looks like he should be. And then Kyle Rowe's also been playing some pretty exciting rugby as well. Harry Patterson, I think he's been playing a bit of Edinburgh A, hasn't he? He's been injured, so he's making his way back. And then Blair Kinghorn, haven't seen any of the top 14 this season, but he's playing for Toulouse. I think he's been scoring a few tries, be it wing or at fullback. So, when he's available, he'll be a great addition to the squad. So I say when he's available, obviously with that Fiji game falling outside the test window, we'll be relying on the Edinburgh and Glasgow guys to fill those ranks. So there'll be no Russell, there'll be no Kinghorn and guys like that for that opening game. But then they'll still certainly be available for the South Africa, Portugal and Aussie games. Expectations-wise, I mean, it's a good Scotland squad. You'd certainly be targeting a victory over Fiji. They've got a bunch of big guns available as well compared to their squad that played in the Pacific Nations Cup, but they will likely as under the same kind of limitations in terms of their big gun players not being released from the top 14 clubs for that opening game. So it should be a very winnable one. South Africa will be a massive test. I mean, at Murrayfield, I think Scotland can beat anyone on their day, but you'll need to have a pretty good day to beat the Box. Portugal, a good chance for Gregor to experiment. And then with the Aussies, the way they are currently, one would think that is a big target for the Scottish boys to put on a good performance and get a good win. But, I got faith in Joe Schmidt, so hopefully it's not going to be a cakewalk, and hopefully it is a good game. You guys let us know your thoughts on the squad, apart from Johnny Matthews. Anyone else that has been particularly kind of hard done by, who you're excited to see. And, let us know how some of these guys went when they were over in the States. Some of these kind of single cap guys who got a chance, not just the States, but over in the Americas, because I certainly missed out on a bit of that action earlier in the year. But yeah, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, folks. Excited to see how the Scotland squad is going to go. Take care, and talk to you guys again soon. See you later.